The placement of a garbage disposal switch is a topic that balances code requirements with practical safety considerations. While the National Electrical Code, or NEC, might not explicitly dictate a specific distance for the disposal switch from the appliance, the intent of electrical safety is always paramount. A superintendent requiring a disposal switch to be within 3 feet of the disposal unit is a reasonable request rooted in safety and ease of access. The primary reason for having a readily accessible switch is for emergency shutoff. If a foreign object, such as silverware or a hand, inadvertently enters the disposal, immediate power disconnection is crucial to prevent damage or injury. A switch located further away could delay this critical response, potentially exacerbating the situation. The 3-foot distance is not an arbitrary number. It represents a readily reachable distance in a typical kitchen environment. It is close enough to be quickly accessed in an emergency, yet far enough to prevent accidental activation or contact during normal sink use. When interpreting the NEC, the concept of readily accessible is important. While this term is defined in the code primarily regarding overcurrent protection devices like circuit breakers, the underlying principle applies to other control devices such as disposal switches. Readily accessible means capable of being reached quickly without climbing or removing obstacles. A switch located behind cabinets, inside drawers, or across the kitchen would not meet the spirit of readily accessible in an emergency situation. Consider the practical aspects of kitchen use. A person using the sink is likely to be within arm's reach of the disposal area. Placing the switch within 3 feet ensures that the user can quickly deactivate the disposal without having to move to another location. This is especially important if the user is startled or otherwise impaired. The absence of a specific code requirement does not negate the importance of safety. The NEC provides minimum standards, and it is often necessary to exceed these standards to ensure optimal safety and functionality. Local jurisdictions and inspectors may have their own interpretations and requirements based on local conditions and best practices. Therefore, it is always advisable to consult with local authorities and experienced electricians to determine the most appropriate installation methods. When installing a disposal switch, several factors should be considered. Firstly, the switch should be clearly labeled and easily identifiable. Use a standard light switch with a label indicating its function. This prevents confusion and ensures that anyone using the sink can quickly locate the switch in an emergency. Secondly, the switch should be installed in a location that is protected from water damage. Avoid placing the switch directly above the sink or in an area where it is likely to be splashed. Use a water-resistant cover plate if necessary. Thirdly, the switch should be installed at a convenient height for all users. A height of 44 inches above the finished floor is generally considered to be accessible for most people. This height should be adjusted as necessary to accommodate users with disabilities. Fourthly, the switch should be properly wired and grounded according to the NEC. Use appropriately sized conductors and ensure that all connections are tight and secure. A ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protected circuit is highly recommended for disposal circuits, especially if the switch is located near a water source. Firstly, consider the specific type of switch to be used. A standard single-pole switch is typically used for disposal circuits. However, a double-pole switch can provide an extra measure of safety by disconnecting both the hot and neutral conductors. Secondly, be sure to use a switch that is rated for the voltage and amperage of the disposal. Most disposals operate on 120 volts and draw between 5 amps and 10 amps. Use a switch that is rated for at least 15 amps. Thirdly, when wiring the switch, follow the manufacturer's instructions and the NEC. Use appropriately sized conductors and ensure that all connections are tight and secure. Fourthly, test the switch after installation to ensure that it is functioning properly. Use a multimeter to verify that the switch is disconnecting the power to the disposal when it is in the off position. The NEC provides guidance on the proper wiring methods for disposal circuits. Section 422.31 covers the requirements for disconnecting means for appliances. While this section does not specifically address the location of the switch, it does require that the appliance be readily disconnected from the power supply. The use of a cord and plug connection is also permitted for disposals, provided that the cord is no longer than 36 inches and the receptacle is readily accessible. This allows the disposal to be easily disconnected for servicing or replacement. However, a hardwired connection with a dedicated switch is generally considered to be a safer and more reliable installation method. In addition to the NEC, local codes and regulations may also apply to disposal installations. It is important to check with the local building department to determine if there are any specific requirements in your area. Some jurisdictions may require a permit for electrical work, and it is always advisable to obtain the necessary permits before starting any electrical project. A licensed electrician can ensure that the disposal is installed in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. They can also provide valuable advice on the best location for the switch and the proper wiring methods to use. Hiring a qualified electrician is a worthwhile investment that can help to ensure the safety and reliability of your electrical system. When dealing with electrical installations, safety should always be the top priority. Electricity can be dangerous, and it is important to take precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock. Firstly, always turn off the power to the circuit before working on any electrical components. Use a voltage tester to verify that the power is off before touching any wires. Secondly, wear appropriate safety gear, such as rubber gloves and safety glasses. These items can help to protect you from electrical shock and other injuries. Thirdly, never work on electrical systems when you are wet or standing in water. Water is a conductor of electricity, and it can increase your risk of electrical shock. Fourthly, if you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician to do the work for you. It is better to be safe than sorry. The superintendent's requirement of a 3-foot proximity for the disposal switch is a reasonable and practical measure to enhance safety in the kitchen. While not explicitly mandated by the NEC, it aligns with the intent of the code and promotes quick and easy access to the switch in emergency situations. By following this guidance, along with other best practices for electrical safety, you can help to create a safer and more functional kitchen environment. In summary, the following points should be considered. Firstly, while the NEC does not explicitly state a distance requirement for the disposal switch, the intent is to provide a readily accessible means of disconnection. Secondly, a 3-foot proximity to the disposal unit is a reasonable and practical guideline for switch placement. Thirdly, local codes and regulations may have additional requirements that should be followed. Fourthly, proper labeling and protection from water damage are important considerations for switch installation. Fifthly, GSEI protection is highly recommended for disposal circuits, especially near water sources. Sixthly, a licensed electrician can ensure that the disposal is installed in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. And seventhly, safety should always be the top priority when working with electrical systems. Remember that electrical codes are in place for a reason, which is to protect the public from electrical hazards. While it may seem like a hassle to comply with these codes, they are ultimately in your best interest. By following the code and taking appropriate safety precautions, you can help to ensure that your electrical system is safe and reliable. If you are ever unsure about any aspect of electrical work, it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician. They can provide expert advice and ensure that the work is done safely and correctly. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it is important to stay current with the latest changes. The NEC is available for purchase from the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, and other sources. Many jurisdictions also have local amendments to the NEC, so it is important to check with your local building department to determine the specific requirements in your area. The proper installation of a garbage disposal and its associated switch is an important aspect of kitchen safety. By following the guidelines outlined above and consulting with qualified professionals, you can help to ensure that your kitchen is a safe and functional space. Always prioritize safety when working with electricity, and never hesitate to seek professional help when needed. The goal is to create an electrical installation that not only meets code requirements but also provides a safe and convenient user experience. Consider, for example, the placement of the switch relative to other appliances and fixtures in the kitchen. Avoid placing the switch in a location where it could be easily blocked by other objects or where it would be difficult to reach. Think about the flow of traffic in the kitchen and ensure that the switch is accessible from all areas. Also, consider the needs of all users, including children and people with disabilities. The switch should be placed at a height that is easily accessible to everyone. When selecting a switch, choose a model that is durable and reliable. Look for a switch that is rated for heavy use and that is resistant to wear and tear. A high-quality switch will provide years of trouble-free service. The installation of the switch should be done carefully and precisely. Follow the manufacturer's instructions and the NEC. Ensure that all connections are tight and secure. Use appropriately sized conductors and connectors. After the installation is complete, test the switch thoroughly to ensure that it is functioning properly. Use a multimeter to verify that the switch is disconnecting the power to the disposal when it is in the off position. Also, check the switch for any signs of overheating or arcing. If you notice any problems, correct them immediately. Regularly inspect the switch and the wiring for any signs of damage or wear. If you find any problems, repair them promptly. A well-maintained switch will provide years of safe and reliable service. In addition to the switch, the garbage disposal itself should also be properly maintained. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for cleaning and maintenance. Avoid putting hard or fibrous materials into the disposal, as this can damage the motor and blades. Regularly flush the disposal with cold water to prevent clogs. By following these simple tips, you can help to extend the life of your garbage disposal and keep it running smoothly. Remember that the garbage disposal is an electrical appliance and it should be treated with respect. Never attempt to repair the disposal yourself unless you are qualified to do so. If you have any problems with the disposal, contact a qualified appliance repair technician. They can diagnose the problem and make the necessary repairs. The superintendent's requirement for a 3-foot proximity for the disposal switch is a reasonable and practical measure to enhance safety in the kitchen. While not explicitly mandated by the NEC, it aligns with the intent of the code and promotes quick and easy access to the switch in emergency situations. By following this guidance along with other best practices for electrical safety, you can help to create a safer and more functional kitchen environment. The reasoning behind the 3-foot rule is sound. It allows someone at the sink to quickly reach and turn off the disposal if something goes wrong. It's a proactive safety measure that minimizes potential harm. While inspectors may not always enforce this specific distance, it demonstrates a commitment to safety and shows diligence. It may also be worth considering a switch that is easily visible. If the switch blends in with the surroundings, it may be difficult to locate quickly in an emergency. A brightly colored switch or a switch with a prominent label can help to make it more visible. Another option is to install a motion sensor switch. This type of switch will automatically turn on the disposal when someone is near the sink. This can be a convenient feature, but it is important to ensure that the switch is properly adjusted so that it does not turn on accidentally. There are a variety of different types of switches available for garbage disposals. Some switches are designed to be mounted on the wall, while others are designed to be mounted under the sink. Choose a switch that is appropriate for your specific installation. The choice of switch location can also be influenced by the layout of the kitchen. In some kitchens, it may be difficult to find a location that is within 3 feet of the disposal and is also easily accessible. In these cases, it may be necessary to compromise on the distance requirement. However, it is still important to place the switch in a location where it can be easily reached in an emergency. It is important to note that the NEC is not a static document. It is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology and best practices. It is important to stay current with the latest changes to the code to ensure that your electrical installations are safe and compliant. The NEC is a complex document and it can be difficult to understand. If you have any questions about the code, it is best to consult with a qualified electrician. They can provide expert advice and ensure that your electrical installations are safe and compliant. Consider the long-term implications of the switch placement. As kitchens are updated and remodeled, the location of the disposal switch should be reviewed to ensure that it still meets safety standards.